Thank you all for joining us again at Asia Society and the Sundance Film Festival. I'm very excited to introduce to you a filmmaker of a film made in the Philippines called Leonor Will Never Die. Let's take a quick look at this first. As you can see, the young filmmaker is named Martika Escobar. Martika, how are you?
Hi, Janet. Thanks for having me here.
Well, it's such a pleasure. I know it's early in the morning for you, but thank you for joining us. I was so fascinated by this movie because I wanted to know more. First of all, I thought, is Leonor a real person? You found such a wonderful actress to follow. And for those who haven't yet seen the movie, it's an action movie. There's a lot of gunshots and chasing and all the things that you want in an action movie, but done with a sensibility that is super fun. How is it that you came about to make this movie?
Right. Well, this movie started like 8 years ago. So I first thought of it like with a friend. We were in this workshop in the Philippines, and our lecturers for directing and all the other workshops came to class looking like characters from an action film. So that's just how they were in real life. So my friend and I wondered, like, why out of the hundreds of action films throughout Philippine history, why aren't there any about an action grandma? So we just thought, like, why not like create this action grandma character? And I just thought of like adding an extra layer to her story by turning her into an action film writer who gets transported into her own film, which she will be writing and revising as it's happening. So yeah, that's how it started, but that's not how it ended, since it's like 8 years ago when I first thought of it.
Well, it's a very, very clever concept, the film within the film within the film. In fact, there were several times I was like, wait, is this happening or is this in the film? Because it's so cleverly sewn together, how you have the action in her life, you know, mirroring the action in the movie or vice versa. How did you find your grandma?
Well, the actor or the character?
I meant the actor. The actor. Is she very well known?
Okay, the actor.
Do you have her in mind?
Sheila Francisco is a like accomplished theater actress here and abroad. But I first heard about her through my producers. They saw her in a play and they told me that like I should have her read. And then when I had her read, she just like embodied the persona of the Leonor I had in my mind and on paper. So when she read it, I felt that the character was alive, and that's like a big part of how I casted people for this film. When they read and they made it me feel that the character was alive. I just saw that maybe they're good for this big project. So I mean, it's not a big project; it's a small project, but it's a long and
it's actually a pretty big project. I mean, it's not a movie that's just set in one location with just a few people talking. There's a lot of action. Did you end up casting any of those lecturers that showed up for class in their action like leather gear and whatnot? I mean, that would have been very ironic, right?
I know I should have. I mean, I'm too shy to like ask them because they're my teachers and my mentors. But a lot of the scenes in the film and a lot of the characters are inspired by how they are, even the location.
How they are, or how they had you seen their films, their action films before you took their classes, or do you mean how they actually behaved in real life? See, everything's so reality and cinema.
Reality
the boundaries are blending.
It's both, Janet. Because the people working for it, they call it the Moel Fund Institute. They used to be people who worked in the action film industry from the 80s and 70s up to the 90s. So you'd see posters in action film posters in the workshop place. And they like to like talk about their past a lot. So that's like one of the inspirations of the film also, because it's how films affect us as people, especially because growing up, our president was a former action star. So there's also that fact.
Well, we've had presidents that were former stars too, former movie stars. That's happened, and governors. So it's not altogether unfamiliar. But I believe that action movies have dominated your industry over the years and decades. Is that correct? Is that changing somewhat now? I mean, yours is much more than just an action film, though it obviously has its roots in that. What's happening in the Philippine industry at this moment?
Well, at this moment, I think people are more open to like different forms of movies, more unconventional forms such as this. I mean, the action genre phase during the 70s, 80s, and even 90s. It's not, we don't produce as much action films anymore, but I just noticed that there's like a more diverse range of films nowadays, and people are more open-minded into,
Do you think your films are
accepting.
very much influenced because a dominant area in Asia, especially when it comes to action films, was Hong Kong? Do you think your films were influenced by not yours in particular, but the Filipino industry? Was it dominant? Was it influenced by Hong Kong films? Do you think?
Uh, Perhaps because I think we sort of borrow the trends from our neighbors and other regions in Asia. So I think it's like a shared how do you say it? It's like a shared sensibility, and a lot of it is addressed on how action films were made.
Mm-hmm.
So the action films in the Philippines would look like Filipino remakes of like
Mm-hmm.
American action movies.
And is this your first feature or your first feature, as I recall? That's extraordinary. What did you do when you heard that you got into the Sundance Film Festival?
Hmm, it's my first feature, but when I got the invitation, I really didn't believe it. I thought it was a rejection letter because like, it's so far fetched to think that we're part of Sundance. But once I realized that it's real, which was just like a few days ago when we had our premiere, I just decided like, oh, maybe this is real. I just can't help but feel grateful and thankful every time. And also I feel extra lucky. But I'm really happy for our team because they really worked a lot for this film. It's a labor of love, really, of friends, family, everyone around.
Well, it is a major feat. I'm sure we're all aware that there aren't as many women directors as there ought to be. There's a huge inequality there. And the fact that you were able to get this going and work in a genre that is usually reserved for men is an incredible feat, and from a country that in general doesn't have a lot of films going to festivals. I think there was a time where Lina Broca was was a Filipino filmmaker that everybody knew about, but there haven't been too many others that really popped. The Basco brothers work here, and and in this day and age, there is a lot of camaraderie between Asians from all over, and that's a really wonderful thing. And we've gotten over the fear of subtitles, and people seem to
Yes.
really enjoy actually and relish films in different languages. So I think the arrival of Leonor Will Never Die is just a testament to all of this. I assume the reception at Sundance, well, at Sundance, meaning since you
Yeah.
screened it, um, has
It.
been very positive. What have you learned about the reception?
So far, people have been extra nice. My team and I are always wondering why are people so nice to us. I think a big factor is because it's a joyful film, and I
Yeah.
mean the pandemic, I mean, has this effect on us that makes us want to find sources of sanity and joy. And I think this film, even intention wise, is a film that I want people to find joy in. So
Mm.
I think that's like one of the reasons why we've been getting a lot of love and support. And also the Filipino community, they have been like really supportive because it's geo-blocked here in the Philippines. So not a lot can watch from here. That's
Oh,
why at
what
first
is
I was worried like people might not see our film because I don't have any American friends and stuff. But yeah, we had a producer like help us launch this film in the US just so more people can watch it.
I see. So it's temporarily geo-blocked in the Philippines until there's a
Eh,
wider release, or is there something about the content that will make it difficult to show in the Philippines in the end?
Sundance in general is geo-block. It's just to US only. So all regions outside the US can't really like access it
When will that
unless you have
change?
like VPN and other stuff.
I bet when will that change, if ever? Will
I don't know. It's the Sundance's I think it's
Sundance.
their
Okay, I understand. So it's just because for the moment it's at Sundance. Yes,
yeah.
and but there's nothing. I was afraid you were going to say there was something controversial or whatever because I certainly didn't see it. But and are you hoping to get global distribution with the film now?
I hope so. We have a sales agent on board. It's Sir Camon, and so far they've been like looking for more homes for our film. But really,
Mhm.
what I'm looking forward to is the screen in the Philippines because I mean, the Filipino people will understand this film in a different
Different
light.
way. Well, it does feel like a love letter to the Philippines and to the culture and society, and also incorporating some of the history of the Filipino film industry, which I'm sure will be delight. But that doesn't mean that people outside of the Philippines can't appreciate it. And I think
Yeah,
what I've seen in the last several years that is so heartwarming is how receptive people are. They want to imbibe different cultures and really learn, and understand why something was made somewhere, and and indulge in the differences and or the similarities. But there
that's
isn't the
true.
same kind of you know block mental block for people now. I think there's a lot of openness, and we truly are a global community. And you're definitely making Philippines proud of of you know of themselves. So, what do you have anything in mind for your next projects?
Um, I do have like a couple of scripts in development, and they're all I think stories that are very local, but also very universal in theme. I guess like this, like Leonor Will Never Die. So I hope to like make it in the next not 8 years, hopefully like less than 8 years.
Well, it's as if you've carved out a niche for yourself, if that's what you want to continue doing, because, again, local. And I think this is what many people aspire to, make something that feels very authentic to the local culture, but still has worldwide appeal. Who are some of your greatest influences as filmmakers?
My greatest influence is Agnes Varda.
Ah,
She's like
interesting.
my peg as a human being and as a filmmaker. So,
Hmm.
and
And what is it that
sorry,
you like most of all about her films?
I like how she sees the big things in life through little things like objects in her house, through cats, through farming. And she just seems to, it feels like an accessible philosopher whenever I watch her film. So that's something like I aspire to be. I like to make simple looking films, but meaningful ones that sort of communicate well with people.
She was a couple of years ago, the Academy of Motion Pictures did honor her with the Governor's Award, and then sadly she passed away shortly thereafter. So it was really fun to be with her. She was a queen. Everybody was gathered around her, and so appreciative of her
Love it.
presence. Yeah. Is there
Even
anyone
in
else?
person,
What's that?
even in person, is she like
Mhm.
much like how she is in her
Very
films?
much, very much, very much.
Oh
I,
wow.
I would say identical. Anybody else that you care to mention?
Um, my favorite film of all time is Harold and Maude by Hal Ashby, which also has this like existential core to it.
Mm.
I do like Asian filmmakers such as Chai Ming Liang. And my favorite local film is Bernal's Pagdating sa Dulo. I don't know what you call it in English, but
Mhm.
and Kidlat Tahimik's Perfume Nightmare.
Mm.
So
It's interesting. I
kind
was
of,
just,
yeah.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was just
I think
interviewing. Yeah, go ahead.
you were
There's a bit of
interviewing
a lag.
Kidland.
No, I was thinking about because Simon Liang, and I was interviewing Brad Gray and So Young Kim, who made this film called Blood, and their biggest influences were from Taiwan. It was Hou Xiaoxian and Simon Liang and Edward Yang, and it's very interesting because I think it is easier to be influenced by people who are from a similar region. There's something about the Asian sensibility, perhaps, and that kind of oozes through the films. It's hard to kind of put your finger on it, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
True.
Those are your influences.
I just can't help but be influenced by them. There's also a Pichat Pong and
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Well,
but yeah, Kid is an influence, really. How he uses the form to tell a really personal story that's also and engaging at the same time.
I think one day people could very well be saying Martika was a great influence on me because you are a pioneer, being a female filmmaker, working in the Philippines, again, making an action movie. Now, you mentioned Harold and Maude. Did you grow up in a large family with elders in your family?
I grew up in a small family. I'm an only child, which is the reason why I used to watch a lot of films. Like people would just, like at home, I'd have nobody to talk to, just the TV. So I see it like as a friend. And my family really enjoys the arts and the movies. My grandparents, they would, because in the Philippines, senior citizens can enter the cinemas for free. So my grandma and grandpa would like watch all the films in the whole year. So they're really movie people.
One of my friends is the Filipino journalist Jose Antonio Vargas, and I helped him make his film documented about his journey in America. It turns out he doesn't have official documents, but the parts of the film that I love the most are with his family, not just his mother, but his grandparents. And the way he speaks about them is in such a loving way. I've forgotten the name now of grandma and grandpa, but in dialogue. What is it called?
It's a film in development, or is it a film that's out?
It's actually made. It was made about 5-6 years ago, I think. It was called Document. It's a documentary called Documented.
Oh, called Documented.
Yeah, called Documented. Jose Antonio Vargas. And I really got a peek into a Filipino family life through him and this footage that I saw of the way he interacted with his family. He has quite a large family, many of whom are here now. But it's been such a wonderful journey to learn. And this year at Sundance, there are films from so many places, from Myanmar, from Philippines. It's one about a Korean American. There's fantasy films, and I'm just so pleased that we've been able to really stretch our wings and explore so many different genres. And yours definitely falls into that category of breaking new ground, I think.
Thank you. I'm so happy that Sundance is so open to like different regions and people.
Yeah. Well, the world is changing. The world is really changing, and it's really flattening in a lot of ways. And there's kind of more of an even playing field. And I think they recognize that. There are more films from Asia this year than ever. And I think furthermore, the viewing habits of the audience have shown that there's no just one way, or that we should break the conventions, because being authentic is a very, very important thing for audiences, and that means voices can come from anywhere. So, well, I really applaud your first feature. How many people get to say first feature is at Sundance Film Festival? So everyone, please go see Leonor Will Never Die in the World Cinema Dramatic Competition. From the Philippines, Martika Escobar, filmmaker extraordinaire, who is, I'm sure we're going to be seeing your name on other works down the road. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Janet. Enjoyed
Take
talking
care.
with you.
And yes, we'll see you in another Sundance or somewhere. Come visit us in the US.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And thanks
Good
also
luck.
to Quark connecting us, right?
Yes. Quark. Who is Quark, by the way?
I don't know. He just told me about you. He was the one who linked you.
That's so
He's
funny
our
because,
executive producer.
Because I wanted to include as many films from Southeast Asia as possible. And I saw David Magdale, who's a publicist, was promoting your film. And I thought he was officially representing. I said, David, I want to get in touch with the filmmaker of Leonor Will Never Die. And he's like, oh, I don't even represent it. He was just, as a fellow Filipino, I think he wanted to promote the film. And then he put me in touch with Quark and
yes.
And my sister.
It's like such a tight community of like Asians.
There's an amazing thing happening now. No, we're very supportive of one another and we're always connecting. And this has been more so the case in the last several years. It's been fantastic. And I couldn't be happier about it because I started many years ago when there wasn't a community. And now I would say there really is a community and we are making a difference. And I think that's one of the reasons, and Kim Utani, who's the main programmer for the festival, is Japanese American. So we are popping up everywhere.
I love it. I'm like here in Manila and it feels like I'm there. I just like David also is helping us promote the film and like, wow, everyone's so sweet and so nice.
No, we're just so happy to have more representation. We're kind of floating on cloud nine every time something, surfaces that seems really worthy. So thank you again for joining us and good luck.
Thanks, Janet.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.